Hello, I'm Eric,
And I'm Dave.
and today we would like to talk about knowing your numbers. And no, it's not about interest rates, it's not about down payments, purchase price. It's about what's happening in the housing market, it's about what's happening in the interest rate world, and it's about relativity. So I am looking at on my screen something from the Wall Street Journal. I really respect the organization. However, the headline says that homes are really quickly declining in activity in new home sale, excuse me, in existing home sales, which are not new construction. So anything that was not new construction that is sold, they're saying it really fell off from February of 2024 to March of 2024. And the fall off is just over 4%. My big thing with that is they actually have a good article and they have some detail underneath that shows a bar graph that represents that March, besides last February of this year, so just the month prior, was actually the best month since May of 2023 in the number of houses that sold. So that's actually not normal in how the bell curve would work in a year where maybe September or August would be a really strong purchase closing month for existing home sales. So the headline skews one way. The details are in a good organization like Wall Street Journal puts out good things. But be careful of what you see because not all articles are the same, and maybe not all people talking about this online are really looking at the full picture. It's not like there was a crash of activity. It's that actually February was so much greater than all those other months. And March holds its own against everything since last May, except for February. So things can be talked about out of place from a relative standpoint.
It's also like that one point in time, right? Like if you were to look back for March of 22 or March of 21 to March of 24, that's a different statistic. And, sometimes, unfortunately, the media kind of, breeds negativity because it's a headline grab, right? But it doesn't always paint the whole picture. For example, I know today also we got some news on that March of 2024 was the highest ever median home price in the United States, which isn't necessarily the best news from an affordability standpoint, but it also speaks to the appreciation rates that we continue to see in the U.S. across the whole country.
So the whole concept of if it bleeds, it leads, or if it's some sort of headline that's a real grabber, you really have to know the numbers underneath. And to what you said, if home values hit kind of a high mark over really recorded history of homes, again, maybe it's about 100 years or so, that these are more available to us, then that would probably be a reason why March everyone's settling out and going, is this where things are really going to hold? We're early in the year. A home buyer might go, I think, I want to see what this looks like. But we just hit a high mark in values and kind of a high mark in interest rates. So of course there could be a natural pause, but that does not mean crash. That does not mean that the asset value of a home is all of a sudden coming down if there's a little less activity. And again, that's relative to this year versus last year.
Yeah, and I think from a comparison standpoint, people want to compare the housing market of 2024 to what happened during the housing crash. And they're two completely different markets. And we all know that there's just a huge inventory shortage right now in the housing market. And that's why, we're seeing that home builders are experiencing kind of some all-time highs as far as their sales go, because it's new inventory that wasn't in existence before. People are somewhat locked into their properties now because they got a 3% interest rate, during 2021 when the rates were at an all-time low. And so they're not willing yet to sell that property to move to a property they would really like to have because they're locked in at a low interest rate. So all those things are creating this big demand for houses, but there just isn't a whole lot of inventory out there right now.
Well, and you mentioned one other thing. So new construction historically has been about 10% of home sales in any period of time. And right now it's about a third. That does not mean that there's been a massive surge of newly constructed homes hitting the market. It's that existing homes have actually shrunk as a pool in terms of what's available and the amount of activity that's happened in that zone of the market. So you have to kind of know what's going on to understand, oh, the headline says that there's weakness when actually the numbers behind the scenes may show strength.
That's a good point, Eric, because I remember seeing an article a couple weeks ago about the exact opposite. So again, today we heard that, median home price is up at all-time high. But a few months ago, we heard that the median home price declined from the previous year. But what happened is that really it was the higher priced homes that were on the market for longer or weren't selling as rapidly. So what it did is it did bring the median home price down because that was what was selling, but only as a result of the lower priced homes selling at a faster pace than the higher priced homes, and it brought that average down.
So that is another pet peeve of mine with median home prices. You're right. So median is not average. Median is literally out of 100 homes, which one is in the middle as far as the sale price. And so if you have fewer of these up here, then that just means now you've fallen in what's the active purchase price, but it doesn't mean that a home in that range has actually decreased in value.
So if we have one house that sells for 500,000, another house that sells for 1 million, and one that sells for 1,500,000, your median home price is $1 million.
Correct.
But now if you have three houses and one sells for 500, one sells for 1 million, and one sells for 1,100,000, obviously now it's going to bring the median home price down to, right?
To just over 500, right? So
Yeah.
does that make sense? Just
No, it
I
doesn't
didn't
make
do
sense
my math
because
correct.
no, because the median would be actually in the middle. So
You're
it
right.
would,
Oh, you're
yeah.
right. The median would be $1 million still. So we actually just fell right into the trap. And so
Exactly.
that proves our point that and obviously most pools of homes wouldn't just be three units
Right,
sold in a
right.
period of time. But the trending of our more homes selling at a lower price range, but selling for more than what those same homes had sold for, or our higher priced homes sitting on the market longer, or maybe they're not even listed as much, and or they might be dropping price and trying to figure out where that part of the market sits. Either way, this market is not so easy to describe as median home price, average home price, because it becomes very price point and geographically specific in terms of what's happening with real estate prices.
Yeah, and again, you're talking about a much smaller population with the inventory shortage right now. So if you're looking at a median price over 50,000 homes versus a median price in 25,000 homes, depending on which market, values are selling more than others, it could change that median home price dramatically.
Absolutely. So get to know your numbers, but also this is a reason to talk to someone who's a professional, whether it's a real estate agent, whether it's someone in mortgage financing, whether it's us, about what these numbers mean or what you're hearing, or to kind of dispel or bring some full picture to what you might understand so far based on what you've been exposed to, and bring that around to, okay, this is how that applies to what you're maybe doing, or maybe you're selling a home and buying a home, maybe you're buying a home, maybe you're moving out of the area and just simply selling this home and going somewhere else. Then all of that can come into play in those conversations.
So moral of the story, Eric, is don't believe everything that you see, read in the media. And because again, it can depend if you watch channel 2 or channel 4, how the story is relayed. And so just make sure you're, doing your homework. And again, like you said, talk to a professional.
And know your numbers. And so the more that you're exposed to greater amounts of information, you're going to start feeling comfortable with those numbers. But a headline is generally not going to lead you towards the right conclusion.
Awesome, Eric. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dave.
Yeah. See you soon.
All right, you too.